Breathe air!
Okay, welcome everyone. Thanks for coming to my comparison video. So today I'm going to comparing Bleach and Jujutsu Kaisen, but for fair comparison, I'm going to compare Bleach episode 1 to 50 to Jujutsu Kaisen season 1 and 2, mainly because Jujutsu season 1 and 2 have total episode 50 or less. So it will be not fair to compare JJK to Bleach 1000 Years Blood Arc, because at that point, Bleach already have more established writing and world building. Also, I don't know if I can use anime video for this video, so I will use the game gameplay or a picture of the anime, so bear with it, okay? Anyway, so let's just get to it, okay? From the very first scene, both Bleach and JJK share same introduction value, with Rukia standing in pole looking at Moon, establishing this anime going to be some power or spiritual theme, because how else a person can get into that height without ladder. And JK opening scene is Gojo kidnapping Yuji in a room full of paper with symbol, kind of spiritual vibe. So they familiar in that sense. Now let's compare both main character. Yuji and Ichigo, this first episode is important for viewer to gain a grasp of main character trait. So from Bleach, so Ichigo fighting a bunch of guy for questioning reason, or rather be told that it can see ghosts. So from normal people perspective, you know, the people in anime that can't see ghosts have impression that Ichigo are a troublemaker who pick a fight with whoever. So common delinquent. This is important so we can know how people in anime see our main character. So Ichigo are seen by other people as delinquent who take no L for whoever provoke him, which is questionable because Ichigo family seems mostly intact with sister and father present, only mother absent. With this kind of living environment, people from anime will not understand what make Ichigo become rogue, which only known to us, the viewer, giving us more intimate relations to Ichigo. This kind of character might be less relatable to most high school student, but you have to remember when Bleach first published, it have to compete with One Piece and Naruto that have dreaming trait. So Ichigo created that contradict that all, or Ichigo represent for teenager that want more action protagonist, but that's not making Ichigo unbeatable. In fact, in course of story, many times Ichigo lose, then retreat, go in training and fight back. And sometimes he wins, sometimes he still lose. You know, common classic shonen troops. But that make it different is Ichigo will eventually win his bigger foe on his own doing for most times, while Yuji often get help to beat them. So we can see different power scale here. Anyway, let's discuss Yuji introductions first episode. Now let's see, Yuji are introduced to more like normal student that hang out with his friends and having little family issue, which is his grandfather, but without his actual parent present. So Yuji are established as normal student with probably not so complete family member that we hope get revealed later in story, but this far to season 2, that thing not yet came to fruition. Now, early I say Ichigo had more power scale than Yuji. That is still true because later in story, Ichigo had many buff because his unique DNA. While Yuji also strong than normal student around him, Yuji not often showing it off to people like Ichigo. Yuji just take his strength as normal, while people around him think it's so powerful that make other sport club in his school ask Yuji for help. So Yuji is popular in school for good reason, while Ichigo famous in school for delinquent purpose. Then again, Ichigo is in places where he can't relate to most people because not many people can't see ghosts, at least on his school. So that made Ichigo have reason to what he's doing, whatever you like more, it's more of a taste. So next thing we should discuss is supporting character that will accompany our main character through his journey. The supporting characters supposedly are present to help our main character grows or challenge them. In Jujutsu side, we got Gojo, Megumi Nobara, and on Bleach, we got Rukia, Inoue, Ishida, and Sato. On Jujutsu, this supporting character have their own goal and often not align with Yuji's goal. So there is disconnected relations between why these guys even hanging around Yuji if they not sharing the same value or at least have solid connections. Through, it can be explained because they came from different background and only meet each other in brief times, but aren't all people like that? We have to remember this is anime, a show that's supposed to tell a story about main character. But on Jujutsu perspective, this supporting character are possibly can outshine the MC sheer to reason they have their own agenda. That's not really a good thing, isn't it? Supporting character can have depth, but supposedly not at the range that can outshine our MC. Example, Megumi here, actually more interesting his character than Yuji. At first he show up, he fighting demons, do some cool magic. Doesn't Megumi have more potential to grow than Yuji? Because he seems to have reason to do what he doing. don't we as viewer want to know what he's doing and where to go next? Yuji, on other hands, don't have exactly reasons to do what he's doing. He's just helping people and do stuff because his condition make him do that thing. Megumi, on other hand, seems to have neat backstory and his also look way more standout than Yuji. Yes, pink hair not exactly make you stand out. If you see someone with pink hair and crowd of people with black hair, you will look at them briefly, but after that, you're gonna look other way. Just imagine if Jujutsu were begin with Megumi as MC, he fighting Ghost to a neat spell, and after this, Megumi must be have neat place to go into. Seems like great candidate for MC. Now let's see Nobara. Nobara impression is kind of flat to me. She just like girl that can handle her own, able to see ghosts and help people in need, with goals that only meet her childhood friends, a character that written to not take spotlight, but she somehow kind of did, because she belittled the MC and bully him. That's not really good for supporting character to belittle MC this early. Let's take a look at similar character like Sakura from Naruto. Sakura belittled Naruto because she viewed Naruto as poor kid that just show off, and Sasuke are way cooler. But we as viewer knows Naruto can do neat stuff on his own doing. So Sakura belittled Naruto, not affecting our view to how awesome Naruto was. But in Yuji, at early episode, don't have neat stuff to represent him as cool. We don't get to see that from Yuji. So Nobara have every right to see Yuji as pathetic. And those also apply to viewer. Why not compare with Ichigo? Well, Ichigo gonna fight anyone who belittled him to begin with, so there's no comparison to him. Again, this is just proof how Jujutsu side character or take spotlight from MC. Now let's look at Gojo. This guy, my dude, is taking hold of the spotlight and stage from Yuji. His character design are the most standout than the rest, have the highest power level, and have cool magic too. This is awful to do, showing this much side character that actually better than Yuji. This already take the story away from following Yuji's story to following random side character story. Let's see Bleach supporting character. Let's see what Chad doing. Sato is tall, probably 6 feet, and good at fighting. And stated at fandom here that later shown at the anime, Chad is often viewed as fearful person to people around him. So he don't have many friends. He is sharing same trait as Ichigo already, viewed as delinquent and good at fighting. Ichigo is more intimidating than Chad, while Chad seems more like the shy type rather than delinquent. And I argue Chad is more of a background character than anything in the beginning of Bleach. Or now Inoue. Inoue kind of flat character, not in body of course, I mean in trait. She is just feminine girl that have crush on Ichigo. This flat character also good, so we can view Inoue as not that interesting, so we can focus on Ichigo more, giving our MC all unique trait in order to make him stand out, you know. Now let's see Rukia. Rukia were often viewed as character who often challenge Ichigo, because Ichigo is stubborn to put his own ego aside. And this is good, a character that can help our MC to grow, and debate also the case with Ishida, who diligent student, who dislike Ichigo behavior of fighting, but choose to keep hanging. This is also good. You can't have great friend group if you hang out around yes man. In order for our MC to grow, you need friend that supportive like Chad and Inoue, and need friend that contradict their value to help our MC gains new insight like Rukia and Ishida.K. This is what supporting characters should do, not outshine the main character. Now let's talk about our MC goals or aspirations. At first episode alone, Ichigo already have prefix goals and he have more or less ability to achieve it. Ichigo can see ghosts and want to protect people from them, or early on episode, he want to protect good ghosts from living people who disrespect their resting places. And when Rukia shows up and lend Ichigo a power that can actually banish ghosts, it's amplified Ichigo goals even more. He now have friends that can see ghosts and have way to actually doing good, protecting people. Yuji, on other hands, his goal is kind of unclear. At first, he looked like normal student who don't have particular goal beside helping his sick grandfather and enjoying his high school life. While this is not bad, but later when Megumi and Gojo show up and involve Yuji to more dangerous world, where Yuji just kind of sway away and follow them along and decide he want to help them. Again, he put in situation where Yuji doing what he doing because his environment forced him to do. This is not really great goals. Main character ideally should have more interesting goals to achieve. Now let's see between Ichigo and Yuji, are they have power or abilities to obtain their own goals? Later in series Bleach, on Ichigo journey, he will meet people who actually can beat him, and he have to training to gain power to bounce back from defeat. Now let's see, Yuji are introduced to more like normal student that hang out with his friends and having little family issue, which is his grandfather, but without his actual parent present. So Yuji are established as normal student with probably not so complete family member that we hope get revealed later in story, but this far to season 2, that thing not yet came to fruition. Now, early I say Ichigo had more power scale than Yuji. That is still true because later in story, Ichigo had many buff because his unique DNA. Yuji also more or less have abilities to achieve it. While it's shown in anime that Yuji also suffer from defeat and eventually bounce back, but that not in his own power, but rather from Sukuna and his friends helped, which still good on its own accord. But I think we should give Yuji more self-esteem by finishing his own problem. The fact Yuji get helped by Sukuna established that Yuji dependent to Sukuna, a creature that a parasite on his body. Sure, there are a lot of series like this. I hope Yuji can defeat someone with his own hands later in series. Yuji training session also not that interesting, or explain how his training can make him become more powerful. Now let's discuss power sources from both series, Bleach and Jujutsu. Bleach power sources came from Reisatsu, Datsu, or spiritual pressure, or spiritual force. Shinigami, Arankar, Quincy, and Fullbringer can harness this power and release powerful strike with it. Reisatsu can be used for defensive and offensive and have different effect depending on user who use it. People with only Brawl like Ichigo can only use it for strike, while people who actually have academy training like Shinigami can use it on different form. There's Hakuda, Ho-Ho, Kido, Sensing Ghost, and many others. But we don't get to much of this in anime because Ichigo are not Academy Shinigami. While it's quite vague how they're able to cast it, but we do know it takes training and they use Reisatsu to use it. So basically Reisatsu's mana and Shinigami use and learn different spell to utilize it. In Bleach, we know captain rank is the highest, vice captain probably above average, while squad member is average, and low level are someone that's still in academy, or not even in academy. At least we got grasp who is the real deal here. But in Jujutsu, even Yuji, who just joined, it's considered above average. So it's hard to tell who is the highest level. Probably Gojo or Sukuna is the highest. Anyway, so Sorcerer can utilize it different forms. But in the anime alone, there is rarely Sorcerer that can blast a spell with cursed energy. Most of them just using cursed energy to enchant physical power. Sure, there is whole wiki that explain the forms, but the anime alone rarely show it. There is lapse technique that gather cursed energy in order to use it. Or lapse also can be straight used to enchant without harness it to different form. There is reversal technique that basically heal human wounds by convert negative energy to positive energy. The anime says it's rare technique, but almost everyone in show can do it. So is this even rare? There is subtraction, which is hand technique, like what Megumi doing, and innate power that is unique birth gifted power. There's different curse technique, okay? But the problem is the anime didn't explain it well, what the power is doing. It's just happened. If you watch JoJo, you realize they talk a lot to explain their power, right? In Bleach, it's also the case. Most captain will explain their Bankai power to assert dominance. Maybe unrealistic to talk between fight, but at least would happen. But in Jujutsu, they're not explaining it. They just saying it's inherited from family or from their training. Yes, okay, but what they actually do. Hello? While it makes sense to not explaining your power to enemies, but they at least can do monologue to explain it, but not rarely the case. In Bleach, they explaining what they Bankai do in most of fight. Or in monologue, like these domain technique. While it is cool to have this on screen, but how in world someone can cast this domain, how many energy and how rare to able to achieve this power level, why they not just spamming this technique, they not explaining the drawback or the cost casting this, at least not in the anime. While Bankai is explained, it's only usable after the user defeat or make friends with their swords. This is possible by calling the sword real names and entering the sword mines. Bankai can't be spammed because it burden user body, as we've seen in Jiro case. So this domain expansion didn't explain any of that, how people can do this, how hard to do this, and what the limitations. While it is cool to look at, but if we have no explanation of what is happening, this is just spectacle. Okay, for next part, I really don't want to do this because Kubo is GOAT at designing character even among big three. But anyway, let's do it anyway. Now let's discuss character design and how they presented their character ability or personality. Clearly, since Bleach episode 50 only reached Soul Society, so there is no Arankar yet. Rather, the enemies is Hollow and Shinigami itself. From Ichigo perspective, that is. But Jujutsu have many character introduced at just 50 episode. So I don't know if I'm going to compare all of them because the number probably not going to be even. Let's just see as we go, okay? Let's just compare the simple one, our main character team, and then the enemies. So from Jujutsu, we got this character here. They are well made and they're designed quite well made. Megumi with emphasize at his big hands, indicating he uses hands a lot for casting. Gojo with bandages on his eyes, probably his eyes were ultimate weapon. Nobara that carries around hammer, so simple, isn't it? Great design. Yuji, hard to tell what this guy actually do from his design alone. The only standout feature from him is his hair that have nothing to do with his power, but he have this mark on his face, but that's still not explaining what he do. He got mouth on his hands, that kind of explaining he probably have alter ego. Overall, not that bad design, but we see this from just design alone as stranger to the series. Okay, now let's see Bleach. Ichigo with extravagant sword that have no cover, indicate that probably his main weapon. His hair also stand out. Probably delinquent who loves fighting. Ichigo design are really action oriented. Now Chad, his hair covering his face, making him like shy character, and his mouth like lip shut. Seems like person who knows he is strong but don't want hurt other. And his big arms indicate that is his main weapon. Great stuff. Now not much to see here. Just look like usual heroine that exists purely so MC can save her. Didn't show her power either, giving impression she is sideline character. While it's not great, but not awful either for a heroine. I'll also just realize Jujutsu don't have heroine that genuinely interests with Yuji, but that's not really important. Now let's jump to enemies design. In Bleach, we got Hollow with various variation. There is Demi-Hollow, that's just good spirit who almost become bad because losing his heart. There is Huge Hollow or regular Hollow that quite menacing for beginner Shinigami because they are giant in size. So their power is great, but don't seems they can move that fast. There is Menos Grande, the big bad Hollow that once are a real threat at beginning of Bleach series. Their design just masked with black bodies to the ground. Indicate why. They're probably strong, but must be very slow, so their power is from that mouth or maybe eyes. There's the Juchas or smarter Hollow. Their design is more humanoid in size, and they can talk, meaning they're far more superior than earlier Hollow. And there is Vasto Lorde, that way more powerful, but don't seem to have brains anymore. Because how rare they are, we can assume this form is hard to obtain, and they probably killed each other. And there is a Rancor, who is evolved from Vasto Lorde, but we're not going to talk about them because a Rancor not show up at 50 episode of Bleach. Bleach have filler, but in episode 1 to 50, there are only 2 filler, so Rancor not yet show up anyhow. Now, before we talk about Shinigami Captain that show up, let's see what Jujutsu enemies have. Cursed Spirit, I have to give Jujutsu this. Their Cursed Spirit is look awesome, but if we compare them to a Rancor, they're going to be competition since a Rancor not show up yet, so we won't do that. While Cursed Spirit here doesn't seem visual difference that differ them from low level Cursed Spirit and high level one. Since we know some of Cursed Spirit can talk and some are not, what we got is the humanoid Cursed Spirit is the strongest, but the anime informed their grade between Cursed Spirit, but then again, they don't have visual representation to differ them from low grade or high grade, so hard to tell. Now let's see few Cursed Spirit. There is some disoriented Cursed Spirit that have Grosstoke body proportions, and there is some that more resemblance animals. But what differ from one each other, I don't know. Hard to tell which is the strongest. Or the spirit that can talk is more stronger, or that not the case. Anyway, design should communicate what the character do. So this Cursed Spirit is badly designed, even if they look great, but they're not explaining which is smarter or stronger, since most of them have mouth and eyes. So how we as viewer can differ what grade that Cursed Spirit is belonged to. There isn't much to tell about this Cursed Spirit except they look great for just show. Now let's move on to humanoid Cursed Spirit. Okay, Mahito have disheveled clothes, meaning he probably remove his clothes a lot and have a patch around his body, look like he can reattach his body limbs. So we know humanoid Cursed Spirit are the strongest, so Mahito probably strong with unique power of reattach his limbs. Now there is Jogo, some one-eye creature with some mini mountain on top of his heads and those ears that look like something that are in train locomotives, for pumping out gas. So Gojo power probably involves some gas emitting or lava because it's mutane. Design that communicate what his power are. Now there is Hanami, Hanami and Dagon design speak for itself. Goso's more questionable. We know Goso is using blood as power, but why he's wearing clothes that cover most of his bodies? I know they are baggy clothes, but don't you as user who main power is involved contact skin, don't you want have more access to your body skin? So not that great design to inform what he's doing, but maybe that the purpose is to make opponent think what he can do. Now let's talk about the main villain. At this point of story, Bleach main villain were Aizen and his rogue captain, Gin and Tauzen. Here's the problem with Bleach. While its world building and most of the fundamental part of the story is done right, but the handling of individual character that are in not an MC team are most bare bones. Aizen, Tauzen, just one-dimensional evil. People on anime just shock as why they commit crime. And we as viewer also confused because not get chances to get to know their motives first, which going to be relieved later in anime. But this is flaw of Bleach, is have some cool concept, but the story itself is slow burned. That's why 1,000-Year Blood is so good, because it is the climax. However, this one-dimensional evil trait can be justified because Kubo didn't wait Aizen's spotlight as Mastermind got outshined, which debatable, good or not. But I can't explain Aizen motives because the show not reached that point yet. Sue Bleach take L here for this comparison because the slow burn plot. So Jujutsu had Ghetto Team, which involves this guy. That surprisingly the main villain team and motives are done better and revealed much sooner than Bleach, which can be explained because it's seasonal anime and not long run like Bleach, so more compact stories are needed. So at this point of total 50 episodes, Jujutsu able to tell story much more than what Bleach can do. But the flaws on this fast-paced story is many part of fundamental element of story or world building are sidelined in order for the story got to its peak arc as soon as possible. So here's the summary of this comparison. Bleach pros, world building are explained properly. What is Hollow? Shinigami, where does spirit go after being defeated? They go to Soul Society to reborn. If they become evil, they become Hollow and goes to Weko Mundo. The power sources explained properly. Reisatsu explained properly how one can harness and use it and how hard to use it. Only academic people can use fancy techniques such as Kido, while Ichigo can only use his sword, Reisatsu. Main character have clear goal since beginning, helping good ghost and protect people close to him from bad ghosts, so the accident that cost Ichigo lost his mom will not get repeated. Main character feel important. Without Ichigo, Rukia would get devoured from Hollow, and without Ichigo, Rukia will get executed by Soul Society. And later in story, without Ichigo, Shinigami will struggle to defeat Quincy. Side character not outshine MC. Most side character goals already finished, so that the story can be focused to Ichigo journey and his main team. For Bleach cons, many character that look cool and look important, but not get cool moment to justify their cool design. Usually cool character are made to make them stand out in importance on story. But on Bleach, they look cool because Kubo is good at design character. Main villain motives are revealed too long in order to do world building of Weko Mundo. We don't get to know Aizen motives until Arrancar arc is finished. Again, slow burn, slow paced storytelling. Jujutsu Kaisen pros, many character with cool looking and actually cool power with decent backstory from get-go. We know like Megumi, we know he wants to help people despite their background. He act like these because Megumi actual family are quite discriminating to non-sorcerer. A fast-paced story that make the action scene came up sooner so the viewer can get spectacle more sooner. Whether that's good or not, it depends on your taste, but I think it's better to have context first. Why I think a fast-paced story that make the action scene came up sooner so the viewer can get spectacle more sooner. Whether that's good or not, it depends on your taste, but I think it's better to have context first why things happen, since this is debatable, so count as pros value. Jujutsu Kaisen cons, world building not properly explained. We know Curse Spirit have grade, but the anime not telling how we can tell which one is stronger. Beside humanoid looking, no different energy color, nothing. Where does Curse Spirit go after being defeated? Can low grade spirit evolves? We know they evolves if negative energy or increase in area, but are there ever a case of low spirit wander around and level up on his own? We know in Bleach, Hollow eat weaker Hollow to level up and sometimes goes to human world. In Jujutsu, the special grade spirit are just born and barely mentioned as there is case low level to evolves, so they born and overpowered from get-go. What the difference between each rank of sorcerer, how we know if someone is above average sorcerer. We don't get many visual indication about sorcerer that is stronger. In fact, the strongest enemy I anime wearing t-shirt and long pants. In Bleach, we know captain, the highest, the vice captain, then member of Gote. Okay, that's about it for my comparison video. It might seem like glazing and probably were, but you can't deny that Jujutsu storyline on later chapter get worsened. I believe it's because they too focused on Gojo, Gito, and Sukuna issue, and when all that arc is over, when Gojo lose, they simply don't even anything left to pique interest. While Bleach built its story from various faction and character, making Ichigo have plenty of arc to go into, and in TYBW we get to see all that in All Out War, where all that character have time to shine. Though I can admit Bleach story mostly hit and miss, but in long run it's worth it. We got T.W. Jujutsu struggle to pique interest with leftover character that not properly introduced early on. Okay, thanks for watching my video. Bye now.